In this video, I'm going to be going over the Sungzu 1000, sometimes known as the SKA 1000. Now, I actually got this with a couple of solar panels, these foldable kind, which are pretty neat. And in many ways, this is a better solar generator than some of the most well-known solar generators out there. So stick around for this video on my review of the Sungzu 1000. So first of all, what I've got here is, of course, the solar generator itself. I've got two 100-watt foldable solar panels. Now, these have a connector just for the Sungzu 1000, which uses this barrel port here. And this is the wall charger for it. This thing is ginormous. Now, first, I'm going to be going over the specs of the Sungzu 1000. Now, you need to understand that just because it comes out of China doesn't automatically mean it's poor quality. If you look at almost any electronic, it comes from overseas. Not all of them from China, but you get the point. There is low quality and high quality everywhere you go. Now, I've got my cheat sheet here with my big comparison chart. If you want access to this comparison chart, then just go to poweredportablesolar.com. So this has just over 1,000 watt-hour batteries, technically 1,010 watt-hours. And they do say you can draw the full 1,000 watt capacity all the way till zero, and we're going to put that to the test here. It is lithium ion, and it does have a 1,000 watt inverter with a 2,000 watt peak. And because this is rated to its full capacity, that means you're only going to get about 500 cycles out of it. It says a 300 watt input for the solar input. Now, that's not really that much, but ideally, with a 1,000 watt-hour battery and 300 watts of solar, you're looking at about 3.5 hours pretty much for a full charge. I've only got the 200 watts of these flexible solar panels here. I wanted to try out their solar panels with the system just to see how it worked. But that is one of the downsides that I found to this, is that it uses proprietary connections for the solar, and that means you pretty much are stuck using their stuff, or you have to find some sort of adapter. There is no car charger for this, but it does have an MPPT charge controller, which you'd be surprised, like the Jackery 500 that I recently reviewed. You'd think that even with Jackery, like a big name, they would have something like an MPPT charge controller, but they had a PWM. This uses an MPPT charge controller, so you're going to get a much better charge, especially on cloudy days, than you would with a PWM. And it is a pure sine wave inverter, and it only is 25 pounds. So this thing is pretty light. It's really not that hard to move around. This is the biggest unit that they make. They do make smaller units as well, but I'm more prone to the bigger units because I'm generally running stuff that I need to run a little bit longer, like a refrigerator. But I do have an alternate solution for that I'll show you in this video as well. As far as the outlets go, it's got this cover on it, and I think it's to help keep dust and water and stuff out. I find this just to be a little tacky. I wish if they did have something that it would either flip up and stay up, or at least flip down, because with it like this, it tends to just kind of get in the way and be a little floppy. So it's got two 110 outlets. It's got two barrel port connectors here, as well as 4 USBs, and then this is actually the input for both the AC and the solar. There's obviously no RV outlet on this thing. What I really don't like is that they use this type of DC port. I've been testing this and using it for about a month now, and I actually do have the connectors for this that allow you to use just a normal 12-volt cigarette lighter plug, something like what this would plug into. But in my month of testing it, I've actually misplaced those. So that's a real downside. It's a small little piece, and if you misplace it, then you're out of luck. There's no way to get another one of these without going back to the company and buying another one. So that's why I really, really dislike proprietary stuff. I've got tons of solar equipment, and I generally keep it really well organized, but I just happened to misplace that plug. And so now I can't run my lights in here because currently my lights are set up with these DC lights in here that I just plug into a cigarette lighter. So I'm sure those will show up eventually, but just keep that in mind. There's no actual 12-volt DC plug like you would see in a car. Now it says that you need to have you need to charge it up every 3 months. So you got to flip this power switch here. You can see I've been using it a little bit. It says it's down to 60%. This is one of the things that I don't like the most, is the screen really gives you no information. This is the screen here. It just says that it's got output 12 volt, the USB's turned on. It's got a temperature gauge, which is nice to make sure we're not overheating it, but it's in Celsius. But obviously here in the United States, I would definitely want Fahrenheit. But I really think that's information that doesn't need to be displayed. And then just showing the battery percentage here. I like that it at least shows the percentage and that it's out of 5 bars, but I really, really prefer an exact percentage to know how much is actually being used. And then looking on the back here, this was something that was really interesting. So these are the fuses for everything, and it comes with these 8 fuses in a little baggie, and you actually have to install these in order to get them to work. So these are 20 amp fuses, and if you basically, oh, they're in there pretty tight, I can't even pull them out with my fingers. Need to have a little tool. But these are the spares, obviously you can see here. And so if one of these does pop, you can replace it right there. You can see here it's got a bunch of the specs listed. Right here it shows you the inputs for everything. The solar is 32 to 45 volts at 8 amps max. And it's just got some general info there. This is a 24 volt battery, so that makes it a lot more efficient. But what you don't see here is no option for expandable battery, no expandable solar. You get what you get. And that's fine. I mean, not every unit needs to have expandable solar or battery, but it's always nice to know that if you had some extra batteries or something, that you could expand it. And man, this thing does not want to go back in there. That's why I think they're trying to be protective of all this stuff, but I really think it's just kind of not working very well. This doesn't want to go back in there. So now the connector, you can see right here, it's got these 4 pins in it. It's very unique. It reminds me of an old like microphone connector. I don't know what that connector type is. And then this looks like about a 5.5 to 2.1 millimeter barrel port. But basically, that gets plugged right into there. And then with the solar panels, which has about a 4 or 5 foot cable, it'll plug straight into there. Now, these panels actually can be chained together, and that's what I'm going to show you right now, is how to set up these panels with the Sungzu. With this panel, it does have a little pouch in here you can store everything. You really want to make sure you don't lose this connector. This is like that other DC connector. As soon as you lose it, you're pretty much out of luck. So I keep that in there. Comes with some carabiners as well, but I don't really use those. It's got these grommets here on the edges, so if you wanted to hang it up, you could. I really don't use that very often. So the idea is you just lay them out right here. Got our expansion cable there. This goes in right here. And we got the other panel. Rolls out. Line it up. Just gotta grab this cord here. And then it goes straight into there. And I'll take this and just plug it right into there. And just like that, it's starting to charge. I generally will tuck these flaps right under right here, make sure there's no cords hanging over it. Now it's a little bit later in the afternoon and we have just a slight haze, but for the most part we've got really good sun right now. But right now we've got these 200 watts of solar, and now the fan is kicked on this and it's starting to charge up. So this is one of the biggest difficulties with this system, is you've got like a 5 foot cable, and you see just how easy that came unplugged. So I got that plugged back in, and what it shows here on the screen is the voltage that's coming in, which is great, but voltage without amperage doesn't really tell me anything. You know, it tells me that the system is working, but it doesn't really tell me how much power I'm actually making. And it just went from the 60% bar to the 80% bar. Now it's showing from the 80% bar to the 100% bar. So I don't really feel like the battery readout is very clear. You just pretty much have to wait until this thing is actually fully charged and it's not blinking anymore. Now this does not have simultaneous charging capability, and what that means is you can either charge from the wall or from the solar panels. That's it. You can't be doing both. I find that it's really rare to need that, but some people ask about it. It's actually a pretty commonly asked question, is if you can charge with the solar panels as well as the wall at the same time. So that's something to keep in mind, just one at a time. So it's a pretty hot day here in Idaho. Got a fan turned on, and that seems to be blowing just fine, but we can see there's no visual output here as far as what our net gain is or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in my kilowatt meter. Now, this is something that I highly recommend that everybody get. It's literally just called a kilowatt meter. But what this allows you to do is plug something into it, like this fan, click that watt button. It'll show you it's using 42.3 watts, 38.9. I mean, this shows you exactly how much power is being pulled from this. And this is a really good way to figure out how much stuff you can run off of a solar generator like this or any other solar generator. Say you leave it for 24 hours, you can click that purple button and it'll tell you exactly how much power has been consumed in kilowatt hours over that set of time, however long that stuff's been plugged in. So you can plug a power strip into this and then run a ton of things and just get an overall idea, or you just do one thing at a time. I pretty much always use the watts or the kilowatt hours just to see how much power is being used, but you can also check voltage this way. You can check how many amps, how many hertz. I mean, this gives you tons of great information, so I really highly recommend, and I'll include a link down below the video on where to get these. Now, one of the things that I really like about these really small, lightweight solar generators is the ability to run a DC fridge. Now, I've got my DC fridge here, keep a bunch of accessories and stuff in here as well. This is the insulation bag that comes with this. The reason I went with this Iceco is because it seemed to have the highest and best reviews for the price. This was just a little bit over $400. And a lot of these units, this is a 40 quart unit, a lot of these units will sell for $800 or $1,000 for about the same size. It all depends on what brand you go with. I love this thing, I can't say enough good things about it, and I'm going to have its own review on another video. But because we've got a small, lightweight, portable generator, this is what I like to run off of it. This doesn't have a built-in battery, but luckily, because I've got solar generators, I can just recharge them as I go and everything. And this can pretty much run indefinitely forever, as long as I've got sun. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to plug this into the Sungzu and just see how much power it's drawing with that kilowatt meter. Now again, because that Sungzu only has about a 5-foot cable for those solar panels, I've got to get an extension cord in order to plug this thing in, or I've got to have this right next to the Sungzu. So that's something I really wish that they would consider, is having either an adapter to MC4 or Anderson. Those are very, very common connectors, but stop using this barrel connector stuff. I mean, it's just, stop using the proprietary stuff. It's really, really hard when you're trying to make stuff work easy for you. Now this DC fridge actually has an AC plug as well as a DC plug, and it's got a 15 amp fuse right here. So it's really handy for when you're either traveling, using normal outlets or just need a DC plug. And it's got a high, medium, and low setting, which means it allows you to really fine tune how you want to use this. Now it's currently set to 70 degrees. Obviously we want it a little bit cooler than 70. I'm going to go ahead and just set it to 28 degrees, and I'm going to put it on the max setting. It's got a max and an eco. This is not cooled down in any way. It is completely room temperature. So it says it's 70 degrees in there right now. Let's go see how much power it's drawing. So on the left side I've got the fan blowing, and then right here it says it's using 53.6 watts. Now when I was testing that cooler off of AC power in the house when I first got it, I was able to run for about 2.5 days, and at that point I was at 1 kilowatt hour of usage. That's nothing when it comes to power consumption. A normal refrigerator will use 400 watts when it's surging like this, and then use nothing. It kind of fluctuates a lot. And this really holds its temperature very well, so it'll run like this for probably an hour or two before it really gets cooled down. And then if I put that protective cover around it as well, that helps insulate it more. But this is what I love using this little Sungzu for, or any other small solar generator for that matter, is it does really well with these DC fridges. So I'm going to let this run for a little while. I'm going to let it get fully charged up. And while running all this equipment, hopefully, because we should only be using about 90 to 100 watts, and we should be producing anywhere from, say, 150 to 200 watts of power, but we really don't know because this screen doesn't tell us. I'm just going to let it charge up, and then we'll do a drainage test on it to see if it can really drain 1,000 watts nonstop until it hits 0%. Okay, so it's the next day now. I left this running all night, and here we've got the fridge. You can see it's at 25 degrees right now. Well, you can see we open this up. And you can see there's little ice crystals and stuff right here. This is plenty cold right now. So it definitely ran all night long, which is real nice. So now I'm actually going to disconnect this, even though it's using very little power. And I'm going to let this get fully charged up. And then we will do our light bulb test to see if this can continuously draw 1,000 watts nonstop all the way to empty. The other thing I forgot to mention is this is how you turn on the inverter, is this switch right here. You hear it beep, turns red, it'll blow the fan for a few seconds. And then you can push this power button down here. But we can see we're at 100% here. Turning on this button here allows us to use these USB and DC ports here, as well as turn on the screen. So for the output test, I'm going to be using these 100 watt light bulbs. Now I've got 15 of them here, but I'm only going to be using 10 of them, or about 1,000 watts worth. And we've got this kilowatt meter, so that way we can see exactly how much of power is coming out of the AC plugs. So with this, we'll be able to test, does this actually have the capability of drawing 1,000 watts non-stop all the way until the battery's empty? So let's put it to the test. Okay, so this is actually still going. It's still pulling right around 990 watts. But I wanted you to hear what it's doing now that it's getting low. I don't know if this is an overheat sensor because it's at 38 degrees Celsius, or if it's saying that it's getting low. But either way, the fan's not blowing hot, it's just kind of room temperature warm, so that's good. Seems like the cooling's working really well. It's been going for almost 50 minutes now, so that's really good. So I'm not really sure how much longer this is going to run. Oh, there it goes. And let's stop. Yep, that is no longer pulling anything. Pull that off of it. You see the little red light's turned off right here. That means the inverter is no longer running. And when I turn off the inverter, the fan stops running. I'll kick back on here. Not sure how long that's going to run. Oh, now it's got the red light on again. It says it's flashing at 20%, so that must mean it's well below 20%. I didn't get this timer started for about 30 seconds or so, and so we're basically going to call it 50 minutes. And so this is really nice to see that this actually can draw its full capacity of 1,000 watts from the inverter all the way until empty. We don't know exactly what empty is, we just know that 20% flashing is most likely empty. So at the beginning of this video I mentioned that you may want to consider the Sungzu 1000 over some other solar generators. It obviously doesn't come anything close to something like the Titan or even like the Yeti 1500 or something like that. I would still say that the Bluettis are much better, but when we're talking about value, this unit is only about $800. Now a Bluetti is like $1,300 or something like that. The prices vary quite a bit. But with the Bluetti EB150, you get 1,500 watt hours battery. This one you only get 1,000 watt hours. But this is substantially less in cost. And so basically what you're getting is a no fluffs solar generator. Now a lot of people look at the Patriot solar generator, and I'll be having a video review about this one soon. Of all the solar generators, unfortunately the Patriot is not very high on the list, even though their marketing is amazing. The Sungzu, no one knows about it, and their marketing is not very good at all. But this actually has a larger battery than the Patriot. The Patriot has about a 690 watt hour battery. This has a 1,000 watt hour battery. This has 2 outlets. This has 2 outlets. This has 4 USB. This has 4 USB. Now this does have a standard 12 volt DC plug, and this one does not. And this uses an Anderson power pole connector in order to charge, which is something that I really like. And this one does not. Now one of the biggest differences is that the Sungzu is a 1,000 watt inverter and the Patriot is an 1,800 watt inverter. So the Patriot has almost double the size of an inverter, but it's only got a 690 watt hour battery, so you're not going to be able to run anything for very long. Even a refrigerator at 80 watts per hour, you're only going to get about 8 hours max off of that, which means this can't even last through a night. Whereas this, so you could theoretically get through the night with just the Sungzu running something just like a refrigerator at 80 watts an hour. Now obviously that varies quite a bit, but that's something to consider. So here's the point, there are some similarities. The Patriot's better in some ways, the Sungzu's better in some ways, but for $800 versus $2,500, I would much rather buy one of these and have a crappy screen and all the proprietary plugs rather than spending $2,500 and get something like this that's of smaller capacity. Now the biggest thing that the Patriot has is that it's a lithium iron phosphate battery, and this is a lithium NMC or lithium ion. So I'll have a more detailed review about the Patriot, but when compared, the Sungzu, I would actually take this over the Patriot. So you may want to consider that as you're looking at different solar generators. Keeping in mind, the Sungzu is still very near the bottom of the list of what I would recommend. I would still definitely take a Bluetti or even a Yeti. I would absolutely do the Titan over any solar generator. It's the absolute best. But when we're comparing kind of size to size, the Sungzu is a little bit better in my opinion than the Patriot. Well, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you found this really helpful. Just keep in mind, I paid for stuff like this out of my own pocket. I want to make sure that you guys are getting an honest review. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe, click that bell button, that way you get notified when new videos come out. And I'm sure you know someone who would benefit from this video, so please go ahead and share it with them. Even if you think they may not like it, go ahead and share it with them. If you want more information, please visit poweredportablesolar.com. You can contact me through there, or you can shoot me an email directly at info@poweredportablesolar.com. I am more than happy to help you with your situation and help you figure out what solar setup may be best for you. If you think this is something that you'd like to get, I'll leave a link down below in the description. Just click that show more button. Again, thank you for tuning in. Give it a thumbs up, like, share it, and we'll see you guys next time.